When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
All right, everyone. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Colleen Biggs. And week to week, every once in a while, we get this surprise, amazing guest. That's who I have today. For those of you who know Karen Comba, I just love her. I met her several years ago at a networking event, and I really just looked up to her. Like, I was intellectually stimulated by her. There was so much about her that I loved, and I wanted to get to know her more. So I remember we had a phone call and we talked a little bit, but then recently the two of us have really started chatting more and more. And she is a mental health advocate for children, and mental health, as we all know, is on the rise with issues that individuals are having. It's not being talked about. I believe it needs to be talked about. That's why we're bringing it to today's show, because it's other people are spiraling out. And I am so deep into reading her book right now. And every morning I pop out of bed and can't wait to sit down and read it. And I told her it's the hardest book I've ever read. So we're going to get to why it's a hard book to read, why she is a mental health advocate for children. And I know she is for adults as well. So before we get to that, I do want to thank the sponsor of today's show at Realty One with Paige Morlino. Choose excellence in real estate with Paige Morlino, a seasoned 7-year AZ realtor at Realty One. Grounded in core values of honesty, transparent communication, meticulous detail, and unwavering commitment, she brings true value to every home journey. As a full-time and full-service agent with a vast network, Paige leverages diverse avenues and masterful marketing, ensuring each property and client receives the attention they deserve for a successful and rewarding real estate experience. Elevate your real estate venture with Paige today. Instantly check your home's value on the link that we've provided below. And thank you, Paige, for being today's sponsor of Take the Leap. All right, let's jump in with my good friend, Karen. It's always fun when you get to interview a good friend. It really just makes it better. So she's not only a best-selling author of the memoir, The Snipers We Couldn't See, she's also an international speaker, a mental health advocate for children. She's on the board of a nonprofit organization for the people on the team building programs for mental health solutions for children's parents and teachers. She's the member of NAMI, co-authored a book, Guerrilla Education. She's also Breaking the Silence Volume 2, which is coming out the fall of 2024. And I mean, she has a list of things that she has accomplished in her lifetime. But I have to say, Karen, writing this book has to be the number one thing you've accomplished in the lifetime. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Colleen. Yeah. Thank you very, very much. And Taking the Leap, that's just exactly, I should have put that on the title of my book, because that's exactly what it is. But thank you for having me today.
I don't know if you knew, you didn't know as a child that this was going to be your path, that you were going down. When did it become apparent to you that you needed to step up to lead in that advocacy role?
Well, Colleen, as a child, it started when I was 4 with my mom's schizophrenia. And people, as they read my story, they'll find out what you go through when a parent has schizophrenia or any kind of mental illness and you're the child in that home. You go through your whole life knowing something's wrong, but what they don't realize what's happening to the child is life's getting sucked out of them. The thriving, the living, what your normal is not their normal. And I always speak for the child with no voice, because their days are not like your days. And so to get to that, your question is, I went through my whole life questioning myself. You lose all self-esteem. You really don't know what life is. You're just trying to deal day to day of getting through it. So people think that when my mother committed suicide when I was 29, that was, oh, you're fine, you're healed up and here we go. And it absolutely was not. The
Mm-mm.
child does not get any help at home. If they're not going to get any help, this carries through their whole life and it will never go away. So it constantly changes the whole spectrum of the life. So when someone asked me, when did you know? It was years and years. It's probably when I was 50 years old already. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought, it kept haunting me. We can't be the only family. I can't be the only child that grew up like that. And nobody's saying anything about that child that's quietly in that classroom and is getting D's and F's, and nobody's understanding that they're not stupid. They're just, even though they're called stupid every day of their life, they're not stupid and they're not thriving. And it just kept haunting me and haunting me and haunting me. What haunted me is once my mother died, it started in my brain and it didn't leave me. So then at 50, I thought, good Lord, I've got to do
Mm-hmm.
it. And I felt like I was chosen. Then I knew if it's not going to leave me, I've got to do something about it. And I just dug my feet in and started in. And Love and Logic, Jim Fay is one of the that wrote my forward. I said, Jim, how do I get started? He said, you sit down with a cup of coffee like you're sitting with me and you tell that story and you get busy helping them kids because they need you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
how I knew it actually lived in me for 30 years. It just wouldn't leave. So I knew I
Yeah.
had.
And if you read this book like I have, so I am to the part in the book where you are a high schooler. So you are driving now, you have a little bit more independence, a little bit more freedom, but every single day and in every episode that happens, you're scared to death of your mom being
Yes.
revealed, your mom being revealed to others, others knowing about your mom. And when you were a young child, and you would have to go to the hospitals and the institutions that she was in, because back then it was shock therapy, you said. And you said there were other people, in these institutions. So if you think about it, those individuals that were in this institution probably had a family as well, right? So they were going through the same problems. And back then it didn't feel like there was much therapy for patients
No,
as there is today.
no, they changed it in the 60s where
Mm.
President Kennedy said, now we don't want everybody locked up in insane asylums. We want to kind of let them loose. And if you will. And the sad thing is there's some people that need to be an institution to save themselves as well. It's not just
Right.
to protect others, it's to
Right.
protect themselves from others. But I will tell you that as a teenager, like you were saying, where you're at in my book, you don't want a different parent, but so you go through different emotions of hating your parent.
Mm-hmm.
The children are resilient, Colleen. And if I would have had someone explain to me what was going on with my mother, I might have looked at her differently. But when you don't have any of that help, which I know is still going on to these days because
Yeah.
people aren't reaching out they cannot avoid if there's mental, there's one in every four families that have struggled with mental illness in their home. Your
Yeah.
next question say how many of them have children. So that's where I say, take a real good look at your neighbor. It's not so sad to be a friend
Mm-hmm.
and maybe ask that kid for ice cream. I will tell you, as a teenager, as a child growing up with my mother, I didn't want another mother. I was fearful of her. The child don't want to be removed from the home. The child's trying to figure out what is my home. And why don't you take me for ice cream or take me to a movie or let my day be somewhat like your day. And but because of all this, the sex got it started early. The child wants love so much. People need to understand
Yeah.
it's a human being wants love.
Yeah.
If you're not getting it, that child will starve for it. The child will go into subject themselves, as I did as early as the ages 10, 13, that you allow sexual abuse to yourself because you're just wanting that hug. You're still not getting satisfied from it. You're just trying to figure out why there's no love there for you.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
just felt, and I still do reading this book. So the book is called The Snipers We Couldn't See by Karen Comba. I'm highly going to recommend that everyone go out and buy that book. And I'm assuming they can get that on your website. Is that the easiest way for them to get
Oh,
that? Or
it
should we
is.
give them an Amazon link or?
Oh, yes. They can go
Okay.
into my website, which is, www.karencomba.com. And on my website, it has clicks. It's got Barnes and Noble tattered. attach whatever way they want. They click on the button, it takes them right to the site.
Okay, so KarenComba.com. I'll make sure we have the link for the book on there because I'm going to highly recommend that everyone buys that book. But you had a lot of fear, and the fear really came from, not only the fear of other people finding out about your mom, but the fear of your dad dying because you would feel lost. Your dad was everything. He was kind of your safety, and he was the driver. And without him, you would be left with your mom, which scared you a lot.
It was. And you have to, so people understand, I was getting beat every day almost. And then you're called, I'll say it nicely because we're on air, that you're dumb nicely, but that's not exactly how it was
Well, she called you a dumbbell a lot.
Yes,
That was the word. And I thought, I haven't heard dumbbell in a long time. That was definitely a 60s and 70s word. Back in the 60s, obviously, that was when you were going through this. And she called you a dumbbell from the time that you can remember the first time you were ever hit by her.
Yeah, it started when I was 4 or 5 years old, and never stopped. And then the only thing that stopped was and when I was an adult and out of the home, the stairs and everything. We didn't just start becoming. I started studying schizophrenia, so we started to become. I started trying to understand her, and then right when I tried to understand her, she killed herself. So
that's a key. I think we should go back to that.
Yeah.
As a mental health advocate, I would imagine that a key is that the individual needs to study to understand what's happening. So you have children that are in homes there's mental illness within the home. And are you the advocate for the children that are in the homes that have mental illness within the homes?
Yes. And that's where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Colleen,
and how young? I mean, obviously you were 4 because you grew up, your mother had this the entire time. And you don't know when it started or, obviously it started, I'm sure, when she was young at some point. Was there any mental health or any mental illness that was, and I didn't hear it, I didn't read it in the book, that existed in her home with her mom and dad or uncles or anybody?
There was an uncle, great, some people try to connect it. I'm not so sure that I'm going in that direction. I kind of go more in the direction of 1 every 4 people suffer from mental illness.
Yeah.
Some form, but that's where I'm really gearing my life, is to get into programs and solutions for the child at home. I'd love to get into reach the child when they're like 10.
Yeah.
Or I'd love sooner, but if we can get at least 10 to start explaining to them what's going on in their home so that they can adjust and thrive and be able to survive it and know who they want to be in this world, because we're missing out on these children. People do not understand until they get to really thinking about it. The thousands and tens of thousands of emails I've reached out, they have said, how many of them, I survived it. I'm on this side, Colleen, but there's some that end up homeless and into alcohol and drug abuse because they never thought they were worth anything on this earth. So the millions of people before me, during me, that will come after me if we don't do something, is we're missing out on the next big waitress, the truck driver, the telephone guy. It doesn't matter what they want to be in this world, or banker. We're missing out on them because they get out of high school and they're lost.
They give up. Yeah, they
don't have anything because
they don't feel worthy to a dream.
Well, they never got talked to about, you're going to go to college, or you're going to go here, you're going to do this. What do you want to do with your life? They're beating down the minute they walk into that house and shut that door. It's a different life.
What was interesting to me was because I'm at when you're in high school now, so I haven't finished the book. But what's interesting to me is you didn't realize what moms acted like until you actually had a friend and went to the friend's house and then saw the interaction between the mom and the child. And you were like, that is what a mom is like.
Yeah.
didn't know.
I didn't know. I actually lied to this bus driver, and I was little, and I lied to my girlfriend. I said, my mom said I could come over to your house and play. And I needed out of my home so bad. I wanted to see what their home was because I wanted to see it. I thought, okay, what do you do with when your mom hits you across the room? When you get called damn dumbbell, when you get called stupid and get yourself yanked across your, what do you do? So I lied about it all, and I was only like 7. And I get over to her house, and her mom, it's like I walked into, Andy
Beaver
Griffith,
Cleaver.
Leave it to Beaver. I thought, my Lord, look at this. And then, of course, reality hit, and I realized that I was in a different place. And so there was no one talking to the child. And I still think that is today, because everybody just thinks that little kid's surviving. You just think that little kid, okay, mom's got schizophrenia or dad's got it or the guardian, and everybody just kind of assumes that little child's just growing up normal, and they're not.
Yeah.
And, that's why I tell teachers that I talk to now that bring me in, I talk to them a lot of stuff I don't share on social media, because when I'm talking to children, I cannot, and I will not share that privacy with them. But what I'm finding out is they're still not talking to them. They still think that child's surviving. So I tell them, look at that DNF. You need to go a little bit deeper and kind of warm up to that child and say, I know it's not your job, but are they looking at the clock? Because that's what I did. I kept looking at the clock, because as soon as that school bell rang, I knew it was one more minute closer. I had to go home.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I couldn't hear the teacher, Colleen. I couldn't hear. It wasn't even writing my book I share with people. I couldn't spell. I don't know how people kept passing me. And so everybody goes, who was your friend? Who helped you write the book? Well, I keep her on my desk, and I dust her every day, and her name's Alexa, and she got me through it. So I tell people, I thank Alexa, and I thank her in my book. You'll see that at the end. I blew it for you. But, you have to realize these children are resilient. We just have to give them that.
I agree. Yeah. So you're working on getting this book turned into a movie, because this is an amazing story. I have to tell you, I've never read a book that is just, I could see it as a movie. And it would be, it's a perfect movie for us to address mental illness.
Yes.
And how it affects families and children and their path in life, because everything that we are, that foundation was built at that age. As a child, everything you believe in is built at that age of a child. And so that will forever change your view of your life.
Yes.
And, so tell us a little bit about the movie and your thoughts around that, because that's very exciting.
It's very exciting, and I want everyone to wrap their soul and their prayers around me that we get it done, and I know the right producer will grab a hold of this. The reason we're doing it is still on the same path as bringing programs and solutions that I have a team that I've put together, that we actually have the team put together doing that. We said it could run in sequence because we're trying to get to the children and families as fast as we can. And I would tell the audience, I'm 66 years old. I'm getting ready to be 67. It's like, okay, I'm going to have a lot less Christmases than I've already had. So I have to hurry up. So my passion is that if we get the movie going really fast, then parents can go there and be relatable. And maybe the guardians can say, parents or guardians, okay, that's what's going on. I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And nobody's perfect in this world.
Yeah.
And by gosh, we're doing pretty good. And then the teachers can relate. Children, I don't know if they'll go, the teenagers might be able to go to it. I'm supposed parents won't let them, but that's the reason we're doing it, because we're trying to reach out to that parent going, okay, look, this is what really goes on. We know it. Let's talk about it, but let's open this Pandora's box and start saying, okay, now let's start working with the children, because you're the parent, but that child needs you and they're just not surviving. Don't think they are. And then to the ones that are like me that lived it, it's okay to say, I'm not, it's okay to be still crazy, because I'm still messed up. And I tell people, the reason I'm so relatable when I talk to people is I'm not healed up. Everybody goes, oh, you must wrote the book and you're all healed up. Oh my gosh, what planet do you live on? It never leaves. I tell them, once you've grown with this your whole life growing up while your brain's developing and you're like you were saying, Colleen, everything's being developed, you're not going to get rid of it. You manage it. But it would be nice to say, to everyone, I know it's okay to not be perfect. And I know that you have it inside. How about you have a friend and we just talk about it and we can start sharing the load that I wake up. Colleen, I wake up every morning and I have to do a ritual to myself to get myself through the day. And I know that. And so by knowing that, it's not a stranger to me anymore. I embrace it. I still have the fear feeling in my stomach that I had when I was 5 years old, and it's never left me. And it's probably going to cost me time off my life, because if you don't start dealing with it, that's why I try to reach people so much. It carries inside, which feels like kind of a stressor, So you have to, I think the faster we get this done, the faster people get less stressed and they go, whew, it's okay. I'm sometimes I don't feel like talking to people today because I'm kind of feeling weird. And it's like, okay, I feel like I was 7 and I'm still mixed up. And so I tell everybody it's okay to still be crazy. And you'll see that in the movie. So yes, we're working very hard, working with the gentleman out of New York, and
wonderful.
Just say prayers that this baby grabs hold. We're trying to get our film pages where we're at, so people know that. And we're going to go out to producers and say, I do believe this is a mission and I've been chosen. So I can't help but believe the producer and people that are going to pick it were already supposed to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. What happened when you had found out that your mom had killed herself? How old was your mom?
My mom was 55 and I was 29, and I was with her that day. And I'm going to kind of, that was it's in the book. People can read about the day, but she had always had threatened it. So, when they're sick, that you just think, oh, here's another day. But I felt so guilty that this time I didn't listen harder, because I just figured, is this another way, here we go, another road down the journey of this craziness that we're on.
Yeah.
And so when she died, because the sad thing is, and I have to say this to people out there, we had went to a psychiatrist that thought that the best thing for our mother was take her off all medication. Well, she was taking 17 pills for schizophrenia at that time. So they stripped her of all the pills. He goes, let's just take you off right away. Well, now that I studied it, that's not probably the smartest thing to do. So not being a doctor, I did not know. So all of a sudden she popped into the mother that we had dreamed of. So for 3 weeks in that January, 30 some years ago, we had the mother that we had never had. We were all in awe. Oh my gosh, he was right. Oh, we were sucking her up like like honey, like bees to honey. It was just like, give me more of her. And we were just awe of her. And then that day I showed up, I walked in the house and she goes, what are you doing here? And I did not know the roller coaster. So I died inside that day because I didn't listen. So it wasn't over for me, so it's still emotional. I get emotional when I talk about, because I always think that if I would have listened a little closer that day, maybe I would have heard it.
I don't think you're the only one that feels that way, because spouses of individuals who've taken their life due to mental illness, they just said, why didn't I know? Why didn't I listen to watch the signs? Why didn't I see what was going on? And I know this movie is going to bring a lot of that to light, in so many more areas than just being an advocate for the children, because those children have grown up to be adults and now they're struggling with life and are committing suicide because they really feel like they're not worthy of anything or worth anything.
Right.
And they could look like they have a beautiful life on the outside, but that's really not what's happening. Just like you had created in the book, when you read it, you've kind of created this false world and family on the outside to everyone looking in. No one knew
They did
because you
not know.
kept it very protected.
I went back and spoke in my small town. That was the biggest, hardest thing I'd ever done. And they invited me back to speak about my book, and friends came, classmates came, and it filled the room. And I was honored by that. But they go, why didn't you tell me? And, I said, I couldn't. I didn't know what to tell you, but you can't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And then I have to tell you, one of the people on my team is a doctor. So about the suicide for youth, I will tell you, it is out of control. And I do believe this will be what we get done, Colleen, will be somewhat helpful. I might not save them all, but I'll be saving some, because some of the one thing that also has brought to my attention is, if we can get to these kids early, if you look at the school shootings as well as the suicides, there was mental illness somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I say to the ones, for the school shooters that were always young, 17, whatever, they were all teenagers that did school shootings, a lot of them, they had mental illness in their home. I thought, if you can get to a 10-year-old and maybe he's thinking or she's thinking like that, maybe we can diffuse that. And we can say, here's help, here's some solutions.
Yeah.
And, and then the suicide, my gosh, we got to start, even in the state of Colorado, they were bringing up this week, we have to start getting some of these drugs that can kill them off the market or not attainable.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's just a lot of work out there. But I will tell you, just for people to know, when you see that child and there's mental illness in home, and relatives know, people know, they may not act, oh, well, I don't know anybody. Yes, you do. Yeah, you do. It's facing it. Now, if you don't want to be the person, that's fine. But if you know that there's children over there, and you can maybe take some bread, or say if they can come over and play, maybe don't be that neighbor that doesn't let them children come over and play where normal might be.
Yeah.
Kind of give them a break. But I could speak all day on this, Colleen. So
yeah, I think it's more or less of us getting the word out there and building the awareness, because so many individuals just aren't aware because they didn't grow up that way. So they don't know how to see the signs. You know how to see the signs because you grew up as a child with a mother who had schizophrenia. And that's not a word that we hear a lot about. I would say it's just not talked about. And we need to make it something that is talked about regularly. And that's you being an advocate for those children and going to the lengths of writing your entire story in the book, The Snipers We Couldn't See, and then getting a movie put together that's going to reach the masses, more than the book.
And schizophrenia needs to be a common word. It's just like I was in a lot of my talks, Colleen, I say, okay, when you say you have brain cancer, people go, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, so just because you can't give schizophrenia the same equal respect as cancer, please give it the same respect, because it's just the same thing. They didn't ask to get it. It's a disease.
Yeah.
And we need to face it and make people not ashamed to say, I have schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Like I talk to a lot of corporate people, and they'll say, well, what do we do with this? We know there's people that work for us that have schizophrenia. I said, can you bring it to the table and just say, it's okay that you have schizophrenia. I'm not going to fire you.
Yeah.
And start saying it like it's okay to say it, because schizophrenia is not an unhealthy word, and it's not a bad word. And, it's just something people get. And then roll with it, be a friend, just roll with it and be open to talking about, and start saying, It's okay in the school. My biggest thing is, so teachers are asking me what to look for, and they're pushing me on these solutions that I'm developing. I tell them, look, I'm coming as fast as I can, but why you're waiting on me? Maybe you in the schools, they could say, when the parents come in and they know it's first day of school or enrolling the child, make it easy for that parent. Why don't you put on the questionnaire, is there schizophrenia or mental illness in the home?
Mm-hmm.
So that they can
Yeah.
mark it. That way the teachers know, okay, oh, good. It's easy. Okay, you can mark schizophrenia. It's not a dirty word. Okay, so Johnny over here, or Judy, mother or father has schizophrenia. Okay, I'll be a little bit more attentive there. We have to quit
Agreed.
even making it when you enroll your child that you can mark that box.
Yeah. Agreed. We need to bring attention
Yeah,
to it for sure.
yeah,
And that's what you're doing. And
that's what I'm trying.
again, I'm going to keep saying you have to go get the book. Oh my gosh, you have to go get the book and read it. As I told Karen, it's the hardest book I've ever read because I know Karen and that was her life. And because I know her, it does make it easier to read because I know how she's doing today. But the horror that you went through as a child, and I just want to take that little girl and just sweep her up and take care of her. I think you want to too, and take that little girl who was you and just protect her and take care of her. And because the way you were raised, that's very difficult for anyone to then turn around and do the work that you do and have taken it to that degree. So again, you can find all of this information at KarenComba.com. You can find Karen on Karen Comba Writes on Instagram, LinkedIn, Karen Comba. And of course, we have her email, so you can email her at KarenComba@outlook.com. Any last words that you want to cover, Karen, before we wrap up today?
Oh, just thank you, Colleen, for everything. Take the Leap is it's actually an honor to be here today. You're a beautiful host and a beautiful friend. And thank you for helping me get the word out. And I tell everybody, please feel free to email me. I do answer and I'm out there for you. And if you need anything from me, I will try to guide you in the right way. Again, when you have friends like Colleen that help bring it to light and share her screen with me and share it with all the audience, uh, taking that leap is more than anyone can even imagine. And
Mm-hmm.
we need more Colleen's, we just need more of you out there. So just keep doing it. Don't leave it, keep doing the shows. I share you everywhere. And it's because of you that people like me can get that story out there. So I thank you.
Oh, you bet, Karen. It's a beautiful, beautiful story, a beautiful book. And I'm going to be praying along with all of our listeners to get you to your movie. So all the right people need to hear it. I just say it just takes one person to hear it or it be passed on. And then before you know it, that's the one that needed to be in that decision maker's hands. So we'll keep pushing it forward. Please share this interview as much as you can with everybody that you can, so we can make sure that we get this into a book, because I know you've been everywhere as it is. You've been in the USA Today, LA Tribune. I mean, I could go on and on and on with all the interviews that you've done and where you've gone and where you've spoken. And this is really, to me, I feel like it's just the beginning. Getting this movie going is really going to change things, Karen. So I'm honored that you're on the show. I love reading your material. So again, The Snipers We Couldn't See by Karen Comba. Please make sure you go get a copy of that book and read it. It's going to take you some time. I'm a fast reader and I can get through things pretty quick. And I've been on this book for a while now, reading it about 30 minutes to an hour every morning. So thank you so much for writing it and putting the story out there. And to all of our listeners today, this is a very heavy topic for many people. And you're the only you that's ever been. You're the only you that's ever going to be. And if there are areas in your life that you have had struggles, that you have a lot of trauma around that is weighing heavy on you and you're not able to get out from that heaviness, please seek help. Please seek a therapist and someone that can work with you and help you. Because like Karen had said, there are great things for you still to do. And please seek the help. That there's so much help out there today. So please seek that help. Because we understand trauma can be very heavy and can stay with you for a very long time, and can feel sometimes bigger than life. And so please, again, seek out the help that you need, and get the programs and solutions that you might be working with. And we're praying for Karen, and we're praying for her movie to come to fruition. And I just want to say, Karen, thank you so much for being on today's show. You're a true blessing to all of us. Out of all of the pain and the fear and the hurt and the embarrassment came this just most beautiful woman who's out there doing this work. So, and advocating for others. So thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you again for being listeners on our show. And until next time, be you and be strong. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery, where you learned the tools to create a life by design. Remember, you are the only you there is, and you are the only you that will ever be. Be you and be strong, because you are brilliant, and the world needs you at your best. We cannot wait for you to join us again next time.